name is Peter. I'm a writer and an editor and a human being and a wanderer. So far I've written a book called Changing the World While Changing Diapers. I wrote with my friend Isabell. So the book is basically about a Kenyan boy growing up in Kenya and a German mother in Kenya. Yeah, so that's it. We wrote it in 2018 to 19, then we published last year. That's 2020, the year which didn't exist much. Yeah, so the book is available. Whoever wants a copy. Yeah, and the other one is a collection published by the Wagon Magazine in India. It's a short story collection, and there are poems in essays from around the world. So it was published in 2017 by my friend called Krishna Prasad. He passed away sadly last year, but we still have his work here. So that's what matters. So in it, there is a story of mine called South Sudanese Colours. It was later republished in Ghana, in a Ghanaian magazine called Ghana Rights. Yeah, and this one is called Selfies and Signatures. It was published in Nigeria. Actually, a friend of mine saw a story of mine on Ghana Rights. The Ghana Rights had featured two of my short stories as the writer of the week. Yeah, so a friend of mine called Darlington Chibweze from Nigeria saw my story and was like, "Oh, I like this story. Would like to include it in a collection." I thought it was joking, and he went forward with it, and yeah, we got the book was published. And interestingly, it's I guess I'm the only Kenyan, maybe Nigerian writer to be published in the collection. I don't know how that happened. Probably it's because Nigeria has so many writers. You know, it's like 1 in every 10 kids or 5 in every 10 kids grows up a writer or something. Yeah. I started writing seriously, whatever that means, in years back, around 2015-ish. Yeah, around there. But before then, I had been writing, and I've been a lover of stories and books, basically all my life, because I happen to have grown up under my church, and she, grandma is like any grandparent. She'll tell you stories about the hair and the hyena, and you grow up like in some sort of attraction to stories. Then I went to school, and I used to read actually basically everything I could find: newspapers, stories, or storybooks. Yeah. Then I came to Nairobi around 2013-ish, around there, so that I could go to college. But then before that, I did other stuff, academic writing. And I think academic writing is something which sort of improved my writing speed. I used to type letter A, B, C, D. Yeah, so with academic writing, you have sort of deadlines to meet. So you have to sort of harass your fingers around the keyboard. Yeah, so then uh, before that, I'd been writing actually in the village under candlelight. So insomnia didn't begin in 2021. I could write all night long after reading the likes of Goge uh, and Chebe. Yeah, then I used to have an uncle of mine who used to have a bookshelf like this. Actually, whenever I see this, sometimes I sort of see that bookshelf in the village. So I feel like sort of carrying on his work, yeah, his intellectual work, if I may say. Um, then I used to read those books, and after reading them, I sort of wanted also to tell my story. Then I wrote a small book over a few weeks. Like I could write it overnight. Then there is a guy. There used to be a guy at at the market, the local market. I believe he's still there. It's called John Maingi. So that guy used to, he had a computer shop. It's the village, and there isn't anything much happening. So I could go to him and ask him, can I please type my things? And he could wonder, what's this guy doing? I remember actually one December when my church, we were to meet, all of us. My church is like, she has a big family, my aunties, my uncle, and so we met, and my cousins, and I, before that I'd written a sort of, my church is called Ndonge. So sort of written a small story called the Ndonge Nights, like Ndonge Nights, like the people of Ndonge, like the Canaanites in the Bible or something. Yeah, so I wrote that thing and I went to John's place, I typed it out, and I don't know what my people thought about it. I'm not sure if I showed it to them. Yeah, but kept I kept going. Then in 2015ish, 16ish, actually before that I had come to Nairobi and met, went to these nice writing stuff. Like I remember Chama Buliro back in the day was launching a book called Faceless Voices or Voiceless Faces. I don't remember the title exactly. That's when I met Shiro Marima, Jenny Marima. Yeah, she's actually a super talented writer. Basically, my writing is usually inspired by things which happen, and things which happen to me. But that came much later when I realized my story needs to be written. I went to Nigeria for a writing residency where I met TJ Benson, and he introduced me to Lady Which nice TED talk of the beauty of being a misfit. So that was the beginning of sort of appreciating myself and um, sort of dealing with identity crisis and stuff. And yeah, so I believe as a human being or writer, there is sort of just like my life. I don't feel like I'm in charge of my life. The same way I feel I'm not in charge of my creativity. I feel like there is a genius. I like to call it him or they, genius with a capital G. Like this being, a divine being, which sort of hides in the walls of my sanctuary, like of the house, and comes to help me do the writing. Because I don't think as a human being, you would take all that responsibility into you, like the creativity. um, I feel like that would sort of destroy you from within, like your human psyche is too shallow to accommodate that sort of creativity. So I sort of believe there is another being which sort of helps me do the writing, not just me. So whenever I sort of my writing gets somewhere, I don't feel like I need to take credit for that alone. I feel like there is another thing somewhere which is helped me. The same way when it fails, when I feel like I fail, I feel like I don't take all the responsibility to my head, like to myself. Yeah, it's actually something I had been sort of searching for, wondering where human creativity comes from. And I years ago I watched Elizabeth Gilbert's TED talk called The Elusive Genius. Yeah, so that's how I sort of began associating my writing with a bigger thing. Yeah. In 2017, I went for a writing residency in Nigeria. About four of us, with 4 or 3. Yeah, myself from here, uh, TJ Benson from Nigeria, and Francis from Ghana. Yeah, so we were 3 of us. Yeah, so we stayed there for 6 weeks. I finished editing a novel manuscript, and I wrote a new one, which I don't like a lot, but it was sort of character development as a writer. It was so many hours of experience. Yeah, it's the first time I sort of I knew how hard I could push myself, because at some point I wrote like so many words in a day, so that my wrist couldn't work anymore. Like they were just like dead, like so painful. So it's the first time I sort of experienced that. I used to think it was a thing for the movies or for big writers or something. Yeah. So then after that was in January, from January to March 2017, and from in April for a week I went to Iceland. I had won the Iceland Writers Retreat Award, which I never saw coming. Even today, I don't know how I got it, because I didn't think my writing was world class enough, to go all over the place. Yeah, so I applied a few hours, mm, like almost to the deadline. Yeah, so and I got it. So yeah, as I told you, I began reading once upon a time. It's like my entire life I've been reading. So I like reading books which sort of teach me something new, you know, or maybe across the world. Yeah, and yeah, I love translation so much, because I believe it's a very good way of reading around the world. Yeah, so one of my favorites is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. He passed away last year, but we have his book right here. So that's actually one of the things I like reading dead writers, or when I hear writers died. That puts pressure on me. I need to leave something behind, because you never know if tomorrow you wake up. Yeah. So this novel is called The Shadow of the Wind. It's about Daniel, a 10-year-old boy who sort of um, discovers a book called The Shadow of the Wind, or in a forgotten sort of library in Barcelona. Um, then he discovers, he tries, the book is written by Julian Carax, and Daniel wants to get more of these guys' books, but then he realizes all the books which are available are someone sort of burns them systematically. Yeah, so he discovers The Shadow of the Wind is the only book copy of Julian Carax's books remaining. So yeah, so it's sort of, I love history. It's set in the Barcelona of after the Civil War, 1945, and I think Spain is a very interesting country, because they never took part in World War II because of the Civil War, because they were just recovering from the Civil War. Yeah. So The Shadow of the Wind. Um, and All Drift by Namal Isabell. She's Zambian. Yeah, this is one of my favorites. Yeah, so it's set in Rhodesia back in the day in 1901. Yeah, like it goes over time. Yeah, so it's told from the perspective of perspectives, several characters of one family. Yeah, and I love that. It's by Mikhail Bulgakov. He's from Russia. Those crazy Russians for the country, Russia. Russians. There is actually in this book there is a cat which it's called Behemoth, and has a liking for vodka. So yeah, this is one of my favorite books, and it's sort of so inspiring. So that after I read it, I went and dug every information about this guy, because it seemed too true to be fiction. So I sort of realized this was Mikhail Bulgakov's life's work, because he's written other books. And the most interesting thing is that the Master and Margarita sort of inspired some of my manuscript. I don't know if you have seen it. Yeah, so the visitation room 17 right now, it's I don't know what the year will bring. I hope it sees the light. Yeah, so it's a novel manuscript, and it was inspired by the Master and Margarita, like the sci-fi thing, like people dying and resurrecting. Yeah, so yeah, and what other book? It's Life by Nino Rachivili. I don't have it here. It's it's a big book, 936 pages, but I read it in 12 days. Yeah, it's the book of the century. The writer Nino, he's from Georgia, but she's German. The book was translated from the German by Charlotte Collins and Ruth Martin. Yeah, so the book is about the Red Century when the Russians were ruling during the USSR, and it goes back in time as far as the October Revolution of 1917. Yeah, so it tells the story of a Georgian family dealing with everything, the world wars, and it's one of those books which just goes for you. You know, you don't need to sort of stray, at least according to me, because it has there is a chocolate bit, like the drinking chocolate, which sort of ties. I don't know if it's a spoiler, but it's sort of the drink is treated as a curse of sorts. You know, when you drink it, something crazy happens to you and another person if they drink it. Yeah, so it's one of those books which I sort of yeah, I think it's one of the best I've ever read. To me, it's you can never run away from the Nigerians. However much you want to say, I want to read the rest of the continent. You know, Africa is big, but you can never run away from these guys. So I discovered this book when I was trying to run away from Nigeria, from reading Nigerian literature. I want to read the rest of the continent. So this book to me is a classic because no one has ever written about like the not many people write about the L of LGBTQ. The book has lesbian characters, you know. Yeah, so it's like a classic already. Another introduction is called the Shadow District. Is another is Icelandic. I love Icelandic literature because Iceland is a very small country, but they produce so many books, and many of them are translated from like all over the world. It's translated by Victoria Krieg. Alain Mabanku is translated from the French. Alain Mabanku is from the Congo. Yeah, so it's translated by Helen Stevenson. I respect translators so much so that even when after I read a book, I have to, I can just tell you a translator of a certain book even without looking. Yeah, because I think translators are the second writers of a book, and you can never, they sort of, they make books available to an entirely different part of readers. I sort of feel like a zombie. I don't know what is that because I've been writing for the last 1 month, like from 5th August to 5th September. I never thought that would happen. The first time in my life, my 6 or 7 years of serious writing, whatever that means, I've been able to to keep at it. Yeah, because it is the first time in my writing career I'm writing and my wrists are not paining, and I try to show up every day to the page, although I have to take breaks sometimes. Yeah, so I think what that has taught me is the persistence, the consistency is everything. Doesn't matter even other areas, not just writing, but how consistently you do it, how it's that like you get used to the craft more that way. Because over the last 1 month, I've written like almost 45k words, 45,000 words. I never thought that would be possible. And when you write consistently, you sort of have the story here. It's like the best dribblers in football. Talk of Messi. It's like when he's dribbling the ball and the ball is just here. It's not going very far. So that's what like writing consistently has taught me. You have control of the story. Unlike when I wrote the Visitation of Room 17, I had hustle at the newspaper, so I had to sort of write over time. Actually, this novel took 9 months to finish, like sort of the 9 months a baby is usually delivered. I don't know how that should mean anything. Yeah, but maybe writing is a form of delivery, so I didn't see 9 months coming. Yeah, so this one I wrote it over 9 months, and it's sort of the story is sort of all over the place, which is a style I love from Bulgakov, which is called the digression, whereby just introduce something, you go 2020 is about why God is good and Satan is, I don't know, doesn't exist. And then you come back to the main story, and yeah, such a thing. When you sort of write consistently, as I told you, you feel like you're in your own zone. feel like your head is full of this other world you don't know, but you keep living in it anyway. Yeah. So, and of course you have uh, upside down, but you have to keep at it, because that's what I believe I was brought here to do. Alongside my genius, the capital G. Yeah. So you just have to keep showing up for the page, and keep trying stuff. You never know what tomorrow would bring. Yeah. Right now, if you want to get this book, Change the World While Changing Diapers, you can reach out to me, Isabell. I'm on Facebook as Peter Ngila Njeri, and Twitter is at Peter Ngila Njeri.